Hello guys, welcome back to another video. That was Dolomite by Scott Henderson, fantastic tune. It's essentially just a blues in A really, with some cool little quirky changes in it. But it's a cool one to sort of showcase some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about. Basically I wanted to talk about kind of upping your 1-4-5 game really. It's a thing all guitarists, all of us have to play over a lot of the time. We all do it, whether we're sort of, going to be playing traditional blues stuff or much more modern stuff. It's everywhere, 1-4-5. We can't really get away from it. So what I kind of want to address is kind of a slightly more modern approach to playing over a 1-4-5 sequence. I'm not going to really delve too much into the sort of traditional blues way of doing it because, well, we've heard it a lot already. It's still incredible when it's done well. But I want to kind of look at the way that more modern guys approach that stuff. So hence using the song Dolomite by Scott Henderson, one of the greatest modern guitar players of our era really. Just phenomenal sort of fusion blues player. He covers the whole gamut really of the spectrum. And some of the approaches guys like him would use, maybe guys like Osnoy, maybe even guys like Adam Rogers possibly, and definitely even some non-guitar players. So there was a little lick I did in there by Michael Brecker, one of the best sax players that's ever lived really. I'll break that down, we'll have a little look at that as well. But essentially what I want to do is just look at how a lot of people play over a 1-4-5 and then how I might approach it slightly differently. And that would sort of spice it up a little bit, maybe add some outside stuff in there if you want, and sort of how to transition smoothly between the chords and make it sound a bit more interesting rather than just your average minor pentatonic stuff, that everybody does. So cool, getting right into it then. How many times have you heard a guitar player in a pub or in any gig really, and you go along and there could be a blues band for example, and they're playing over a traditional 1-4-5 sequence, or even a more swing kind of thing. That kind of thing, and essentially you just hear them playing minor pentatonic over the whole thing. Now that's got its place, without a doubt, and the guys who are really good at that generally have fantastic ears, and what they end up doing is targeting the chord tones, probably unintentionally. The ears just draw them to the next note, so you get a lot of guys who'll do that kind of thing, so they'll play over the A7 and they'll go, and then we get to the D, they end up going and landing on the flat 7 of the D, for example. A lot of the time they might not even realise they're doing it, but their ears guide them there. And that's all cool, but I'm all for kind of trying to know what it is you're trying to do, because it's a lot easier to replicate if you can do that. If you can quickly access what you're looking for, then it's going to be much faster to find that when you actually come to play it. And also you've got it at the drop of a hat, then you go, oh yeah, I know what a flat 7 sounds like over that chord. So yeah, I'm definitely more for the approach of trying to have an idea of what it should sound like before you play it, and trying to get into the chord. Now there's lots of ways to do that, referencing the first video I did a few days ago about playing over the chord tones. That's the first approach really. When we're playing over a 1-4-5, we take it for pretty much as read that it's a dominant, each chord's a dominant. If you're getting into jazz blues and stuff, there's going to be 2-5-1s in there, and there's a 1-6-2-5 and some diminished chords. But in general, a standard 1-4-5 sequence is going to be 3 dominant 7 chords. In this case, I was playing A dominant 7, D dominant 7, E dominant 7, D dominant 7, back to A dominant 7. So in that instance, really, the minor pentatonic isn't the best choice. It'll work because there's a lot of common notes between the two things, and the minor third in the minor pentatonic scale is quite ambiguous anyway, and a lot of guitarists bend up to the major third. They'll play things like, they bend up to that major third, so it kind of works. Or they'll play, so they'll sort of bend this minor third here to the major third. But again, it's usually not through being too aware of that usually. It's just their ears go, oh right, hang on, that minor third doesn't sound right, or that note doesn't quite sound right. So they end up inadvertently just bending it to the major third. So the first approach, again, like I always bang on about, arpeggios, arpeggios, arpeggios. A dominant 7, D dominant 7, E dominant 7. You can play it here maybe, or here maybe. Sorry, or wherever you want to do it. Play it in all different positions, all that sort of stuff. But that's going to get you to the chord tones straight away. That's the first thing. Try and get into that, hitting the chord tones from each chord. So that was just sort of a very basic playing over each chord, trying to make the changes. You should ideally be able to play over this stuff and hear the chord changes as you play through it in real time. So that's for approach number 1. The next part, the next thing that I would do is I would try to sort of to get the slightly more modern sound, is to try and nail the transitions between the chords. That's the thing that often gets overlooked, I find, by a lot of guys. When you listen to a lot of the great players, again, your Scott Hendersons and your Robin Fords, your Larry Carltons, all these kind of guys, they absolutely nail those transitions. Listen to any guitar solo by Larry Carlton, actually, or Scott Henderson or whatever. If you listen to that tune, actually, Dolomite, there's a great live version on YouTube. I really recommend you check it out. He does some incredible stuff over that. One of the big things that Scott likes to do is he likes to play altered stuff and outside sounding stuff between chords 1 and 4. That's a common thing, but between a lot of the sort of great players, a lot of them do that. Not just guitar players either, but he'll play things like, he'll start on the A7, he'll be playing his ideas here, and then he'll play like an altered lick to get into the D7, kind of, so it glues them together. So you get this kind of transition. So he might play something like, see that? So in real time that would be kind of something like, that kind of thing. So that altered scale gives it that sort of, that kind of puts you on a little emotional roller coaster there, because it's like, oh, where's it going? And then you land safely. Now the trick with that stuff is you've got to try and resolve it. If you don't, it's just going to sound like you just played a load of wrong notes, and it'll sound shit, to be honest. And we've all been there when we've tried to do that. So the trick is really trying to land it when you play those kind of things, and obviously being able to play it in time is a big thing as well. So you know, really trying to get a good time feel on that. You know, it could be any altered lick, could be, I don't know. Just trying to kind of really get those subdivisions nice and even. When you get a bit better at it, you can play around with all that kind of thing, but at first just try and keep it nice and even and try and land on a chord tone, and then it'll sound like it was intentional, because hopefully it was. That's a big thing. You can use more, you know, the altered scale is just one option. There's tons of things you can do there. The half-whole diminished scale, which Scott likes to use a lot. You know, you can play it here in position 1. There, and he'll do all sorts with that. He turns it into minor pentatonic. He'll miss notes out and use the whammy bar and go, get that flat 9. But he plays a lot of 5s as well, so but really what he's doing there is thinking along the lines of half-whole diminished, and you can tell because he moves it around in minor thirds, so he'll play it here as well. That kind of thing. So he does loads of that kind of thing as well, and that helps with the transitions. He also does it over chord 1. Sometimes that can be a really interesting effect as well. A lot of guys will wait till chord 5, which in this case would be the E7 or the E9 or E13 or whatever, to do that, because that's the kind of the point where the most tension is, because it's bringing you back around to the first chord. But after a while, it starts to get a little bit predictable. In the intro clip, I played like a little whole tone scale thing, just a little the obvious, something like that. Something similar to that, and it sounds quite cool, but if you did that on every single one, people would catch on pretty quickly. It just sounds a bit boring. So guys like Scott, again, he'll play outside on different chords, and sometimes he'll play outside on the 1 chord, which can sound really cool as well, as long as you can resolve it. So he might play like 1 lick, you know, it might go, and resolve it there, you know. So he'll play it for quite a long time, not just on that last bar, you know. He'll do it for like 3 bars of the A7, which is quite cool. So speaking about the diminished thing, that leads me to the Michael Brecker lick that I played. If you listen to some Skunk Funk, he plays this lick in his incredible solo on that. And all it is really is it's the triads, the major triads that can be found within a half-whole diminished scale. I'm not going to get too in depth on that. I'll just show you what it is. I'll probably do that in another video, to be honest, when I get more in depth in some more theory stuff. But for now, I'm just trying to keep things simple, get you to the heart of the crux of each concept, because with these videos, I wanted to kind of try and avoid sort of all the flowery bollocks that you see in a lot of videos online. That was kind of what inspired me to make these videos, to be honest, because usually there's one little nugget within a video, there's a little sort of the heart of the information that you're looking for, and often you've got to wade through, you know, probably like this video of like 10 minutes of talking to get there, you know. So I'm trying to sort of fit a few of those concepts in, but without having to sort of milk it out for as long as possible. So the lick, essentially, what he plays is he plays triads, major triads going up in minor thirds. If you didn't know, within the half-whole diminished scale, you can build major and minor triads from the chord, which is a 7/9, without getting too much into theory. So over the I think he does it over the, well, in this song he would do it over the 1 chord, really. So it would be like A7/9, which is all the same notes as a B flat diminished chord. But essentially the way he plays it is he plays the major triad, then he puts the 6th on the top, the 13th, which technically isn't the 6th if we're getting in diminished land, for all you pedantic people out there. That's technically the double flattened 7th, but that's how he plays the note, the little lick, and he just moves it up in minor thirds. So he'll go something similar to that. So it'll be like A major, C, E flat, G flat, A. So you get this kind of thing. Try that again. It's better. Quite a cool sound. And that's a really cool little transitional thing to get into the 4 chord or wherever you want to do it. They're kind of different approaches that those modern guys would take over that. So obviously we've got the playing over the chord tones, that's a given. Then we've got this idea of trying to get some sort of more interesting sounds. Another one that is common by a lot of guys, you hear a lot of this, is sort of the more fusiony guys, is Lydian Dominant. Again, Scott Henderson, I keep mentioning him, but they all use this Lydian Dominant sound to great effect, because again, it's all the notes of a dominant chord, a mix of Lydian or whatever, but it's got that sharp 11 in, which just gives it a slightly more sort of enigmatic sound, I suppose. The biggest thing about that scale is the sharp 11, and the way it kind of, if it lands on the sharp 11 becomes the flat 9 of the 4 chord. So again, a great point of tension and resolution. So you can play things like, that's like A Lydian Dominant, and again we've landed there on the flat 9 of the D. So that's going to give you loads and loads of tension until you resolve it. So we've resolved it, you see what I mean? So you can get all these kind of real cool things, you know. That's going to really resolve you down to, in this case you could go down a semitone, you could go up a semitone to the 9th of the next chord. You can really go wherever you want with it, but again, it's just another really cool sound. But you really want to capitalise on that sharp 11, so again, you know, Scott Henderson might play something like this. Probably with loads of whammy bar. That kind of thing, you know, to lead us back into there. And there's lots of other options as well. There's things like sidestepping we can use, and other sort of chromatic approaches as well, and other superimpositions, all that kind of thing. I could go a lot more in depth in this, but hopefully I mean, this video is quite long already. Hopefully there's quite a lot for you to sink your teeth into if you're fairly new to this stuff. More advanced guys will know a lot of this stuff already, and I might do some more videos on this topic in the future with some more advanced concepts, but there's quite a lot there that you can try. So we've got altered scales from moving from chord 1 to chord 4. That's a big one. All that tension, resolution. We've got Lydian Dominant, we've got the whole tone scale, we've got the half whole diminished scale, we've got the major triads within that. All those different things to help you kind of get a slightly more interesting sound, rather than just relying on basic minor pentatonic stuff over this 1-4-5 sequence that we all play over as guitarists. It's kind of our common language, isn't it? You know, that's why it's useful stuff to learn. You go to a jam session, if you're not playing a funk jam in E, you're going to be playing a blues. That's usually the case. It's the sort of, like I said, common language amongst us. It's kind of interwoven into what we do, really. We can't avoid it. So having lots of stuff at your disposal to do over that, it's useful. And especially if you're playing a band that's playing a lot of these kind of changes, because there's a lot of bands out there who are great, but then after 2 or 3 songs, especially, again, I find this in the blues community, after 2 or 3 songs, you've heard everything they're going to play all night, because they've got the really tasteful stuff, tasty licks and ideas that they play over their 1-4-5 sequences. And then they might do a ballad or whatever, and then it's kind of just repeated all night. And after, like I said, 3 or 4 songs, you've heard it already. So we want to try and avoid that, really, trying to make things a bit more interesting, approach things with a different concept, a different idea. We'll have a look in future videos at jazz blues changes as well, because that's another cool thing you can do. You can sort of superimpose jazz blues changes over a bog standard 1-4-5. I do that quite a lot, but we'll look at that in a later video, because that deserves a video on its own, really. So give all those things a try, as usual. If you find this stuff useful, if you get any value out of it, please drop a comment below. Maybe like the video, subscribe. That would be great, because I do plan on doing a lot more videos in the future, and as we go on all sorts of different stuff. And if there's anything in particular you'd like me to do a video about, let me know. Drop a comment down below, and we'll do our best. All right, cheers, guys. We'll see you soon. Thank you.